What it is, exactly.
So this talk specially is for a friend of mine who is currently in rough cash flow waters, and I just sent a message, or a devised a message to him, and obviously there are he's not alone. So because I wrote, means I just created that message to him where I referred to another client of mine who experienced some cash flow rough waters. And so I just, let me share a little bit. So what I just wrote was, I'm sorry at one hand to hear about this rough waters, but on the other hand, I know that the Creator, the All One, gives challenging situations only to those where it is sure you can handle it and get stronger out of it. So what is the opportunity in a cash flow challenge? Answer: to become aware of your money creating power within you. Of course, legally. You already have started this some weeks ago. And then on the other hand, there is this thing which you can call faith, as Napoleon Hill did. And I can see it everywhere, probably. Another client of mine who does not believe in the concept of God, called it gifts from heaven that brought him through the cash flow desert quotes. I'm sure you will experience the same and slash or are already doing it. Please urgently get the Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill, not the other books, this one, and start from today onwards to think about your definite purpose. Do the 8 Princes exercise slash routine that Napoleon Hill recommends. Start immediately and read the chapter about faith. So now I got the idea, because I cannot stand the chapter about faith from my Kindle or Audible stuff. I just read it, and I will send this recording to my friend. And obviously, you also see it now, the recording of that, and it's also of use for other viewers. So, chapter 9 in the Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill in the year 1940 something, 50 something, I don't know. Applied faith. Faith is a royal visitor which enters only the mind that has been properly prepared for it, the mind that has been set in order through self-discipline. In the fashion of oil royalty, faith commands the best room, nay, the finest suite in the mental dwelling place. It will not be shunted into servants' quarters, and it will not associate with envy, greed, superstition, hatred, revenge, vanity, doubt, worry, or fear. Get the full significance of this truth, and you will be on the way to an understanding of that mysterious power which has baffled the scientists down the ages. Then you will recognize the necessity for conditioning your mind through self-discipline before expecting faith to become your permanent guest. But let's start today. That's my additional words. Recalling the words of the sage of Concord, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "In every man there is something wherein I may learn of him, and in that I am his pupil." I shall now introduce a man who has been a great benefactor of mankind, so that you may observe how one goes about the conditioning of his mind for the expression of faith. Let him tell his own story. During the business depression, which began in 1929, I took a postgraduate course in the University of Hard Knocks. I repeat, the University of Hard Knocks, the greatest of all schools, the greatest of all schools. It was then I discovered a hidden fortune which I possessed, but had not been using. I made the discovery one morning when a notice came that my bank had closed its doors, possibly never to be reopened again. For it was then that I began to take inventory of my intangible, unused assets. Come with me while I describe what the inventory revealed. Let us begin with the most important item on the list, unused faith. When I searched deeply into my own heart, I discovered, despite my financial losses, I had an abundance of faith left in infinite intelligence and faith in my fellow man. With this discovery came another of still greater importance, the discovery that faith can accomplish that which not all the money of the world can achieve. When I possessed all the money I needed, I made the grievous error of believing money to be a permanent power of source. Now came the astonishing revelation that money without faith is nothing but so much inert matter of itself possessed of no power whatsoever. Recognizing perhaps for the first time in my life the stupendous power of enduring faith, I analyzed myself carefully to determine just how much of this form of riches I possessed. The analysis was both surprising and gratifying. I began the analysis by taking a walk into the woods. I wished to get away from the crowd, away from the noise of the city, away from the disturbances of civilization and the fears of man, that I might meditate in silence. Ah, what gratification there is in that word silence. On my journey, I picked up an acorn and held it in the palm of my hand. I found it near the roots of the giant oak tree from which it had fallen. I judged the age of the tree to have been so great that it must have been a fair-sized tree when George Washington was but a small boy. As I stood there looking at the great tree and its small embryonic offspring, which I held in my hand, I realized that the tree had grown from a small acorn. I also realized that all the men living could not have built such a tree. I was conscious of the fact that some form of intangible intelligence created the acorn from which the tree grew and caused the acorn to germinate and begin its climb up from the soil of the earth. Then I realized that the greatest powers are the intangible powers, and not those which consist in bank balances or material things. I picked up a handful of black soil and covered the acorn with it. I had in my hand the visible portion of the substance out of which that magnificent tree had grown. At the root of the giant oak, I plucked a fern. Its leaves were beautifully designed. Yes, designed. And I realized as I examined the fern that it too was created by the same intelligence which had produced the oak tree. I continued my walk in the woods until I came to a running brook of clear, sparkling water. By this time I was tired, so I sat near the brook to rest and listen to its rhythmic music as it danced on its way back to the sea. The experience brought back memories of my youth. I remembered playing by a similar brook. As I sat there, listening to the music of the water, I became conscious of an unseen being, an intelligence which spoke to me from within and told me the enchanting story of the water. And this is the story it told. Water, pure sparkling water. The same has been rendering service ever since this planet cooled off and became the home of man, beast, and vegetation. Water. Oh, what a story you could tell if you spoke man's language. You have quenched the thirst of endless millions of earthly wayfarers, fed the flowers, expanded into steam, and turned the wheels of man-made machinery, condensing and going back again to your original form. You have cleaned the sewers, washed the pavements, rendered countless services to man and beast, returning always to your source in the seas, there to become purified and start your journey of service once again. You know, I'm just here seeing the Atlantic Ocean from just 100, 200 meters away, 300 yards. And so true, so true. So it continues. When you move, you travel in one direction towards the seas from whence you came. You are forever going and coming, but you always seem to be happy at your labor. Water, clean, pure, sparkling substance. No matter how much dirty work you perform, you cleanse yourself at the end of your labor. You cannot be created, nor can you be destroyed. You are akin to all life. Without your beneficence, no form of life on this earth exists. And the water of the brook went rippling, laughing on its way back to the sea. The story of water ended, but I had heard a great sermon. I had been close to the greatest of all forms of intelligence. I felt evidence of that same intelligence which had created the great oak tree from a tiny acorn, the intelligence which had fashioned the leaves of the fern with mechanical and aesthetic skill such as no man could duplicate. The shadows of the trees were becoming longer, the day was coming to a close. As the sun slowly descended beyond the western horizon, I realized that it too had played a part in that marvelous sermon which I had heard. Without the beneficent aid of the sun, there could have been no conversion of the acorn into an oak tree. Without the sun's help, the sparkling water of the flowing brook would have remained eternally imprisoned in the oceans, and life on this earth could never have existed. These thoughts gave a beautiful climax to the sermon I had heard. Thoughts of the romantic affinity existing between the sun and the water and all life on this earth, beside which all other forms of romance seemed incomparable and unimportant. I picked up a small white pebble which had been neatly polished by the waters of the running brook. As I held it in my hand, I received from within a still more impressive sermon. The intelligence which conveyed that sermon to my mind seemed to say, "Behold, mortal, a miracle which you hold in your hand. I am only a tiny pebble of stone, yet I am in reality a small universe, in which there is everything that may be found in the more expanded portion of the universe, which you see out there among the stars. I appear to be dead and motionless, but the appearance is deceiving. I'm made of molecules. Inside my molecules are myriads of atoms, each a small universe unto itself. Inside the atoms are countless numbers of electrons, which move at an inconceivable rate of speed. I'm not a dead mass of stone, but an organized group of units of ceaseless energy. I appear to be a solid mass, but the appearance is an illusion. For my electrons are separated one from another by a distance greater than their mass. Study me carefully, O humble earthly wayfarer, and remember that the great powers of the universe are the intangible, that the values of life are those which cannot be added by bank balance. The thought conveyed by that climax was so illuminating that it held me spellbound, for I recognized that I held in my hand an infinitesimal portion of the energy which keeps the sun, the stars, and the earth, on which we live for a brief period, in their respective places in relation to another. Meditation revealed to me the beautiful reality that there is law and order, even in the small confines of a tiny pebble of stone. I recognized that within the mass of that tiny pebble, the romance and the reality of nature were combined. I recognized that within that small pebble, fact transcended fancy. Never before had I felt so keenly the significance of the evidence of natural law and order and purpose, which reveal themselves in everything the human mind can perceive. Never before had I felt myself so near the source of my faith in infinite intelligence. It was a beautiful experience out there in the midst of Mother Nature's family of trees and running brooks, where the very calmness of the surroundings bade my very soul be quiet and rest a while, so that I might look, feel, and listen, while infinite intelligence unfolded to me the story of its reality. Never in all my life had I previously been so overwhelmingly conscious of the real evidence of infinite intelligence or the source of my faith. I lingered in this newly found paradise until the evening star began to twinkle. Then reluctantly I retraced my footsteps back to the city, there to mingle once again with those who are driven like galley slaves by the inexorable rules of civilization in a mad scramble to gather up material things they do not need. I am now back in my study with my books and my typewriter, on which I am recording the story of my experience. But I am swept by a feeling of loneliness and a longing to be out there by the side of that friendly brook where only a few hours ago I had bathed my soul in the satisfying realities of infinite intelligence. I know that my faith in infinite intelligence is real and enduring. It is not a blind faith. It is one based on close examination of the handiwork of infinite intelligence, and as such has been expressed in the orderliness of the universe. I had long been, I had been long, I had been looking in the wrong direction for the source of my faith. I had been seeking it in the deeds of man, in human relationships, in bank balances and material things. I found it in a tiny acorn, a giant oak tree, a small pebble or stone, the leaves of a simple fern, and the soil of the earth. In the friendly sun which warms the earth and gives motion to the waters, in the evening star, in the silence and calm of the great outdoors. And I am moved to suggest that infinite intelligence reveals itself, silence, more readily than through the boisterousness of men's struggles in their mad rush to accumulate material things. My bank account vanished, my bank collapsed, but I was richer than most millionaires because I had discovered a direct approach to faith. With this power behind me, I can accumulate other bank balances sufficient for my needs. Nay, I am richer than are most millionaires because I depend upon a source of inspired power which reveals itself to me from within. While many of the more wealthy find it necessary to turn to bank balances and the stock ticker for stimulation and power. My source of power is as free as the air I breathe and as limitless. To avail myself of it, I have only to turn on my faith, and this I have in abundance. Thus, once again, I learned the truth that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit. My adversity cost me my bank balance. It paid off through the revelation of the means to all riches. Stated in his own words, you have the story of a man who has discovered how to condition his mind for the expression of faith. I repeat this. Stated in his own words, you have the story of a man who has discovered how to condition his mind for the expression of faith. I repeat it again. Stated in his own words, you have the story of a man who has discovered how to condition his mind for the expression of faith. And what a dramatic story. Dramatic because of its simplicity. Here's a man who found a sound basis for an enduring faith, not in bank balances or material riches, but in the seed of an oak tree, the leaves of a fern, a small pebble, and a running brook. Things which everyone may observe and appreciate. But his observation of these simple things led him to recognize that the greatest powers are intangible powers, which are revealed through the simple things around us. I have related this man's story as I wish to emphasize the manner in which one may clear his mind, even in the midst of chaos and insurmountable difficulties, and prepare it for the expression of faith. I repeat this paragraph. I have related this man's story as I wish to emphasize the manner in which one may clear his mind, even in the midst of chaos and insurmountable difficulties, and prepare it for the expression of faith. I repeat it a third time. I have related this man's story as I wish to emphasize the manner in which one may clear his mind, even in the midst of chaos and insurmountable difficulties, and prepare it for the expression of faith. The most important fact which this story reveals is this. When the mind has been cleared of a negative mental attitude, the power of faith moves in and begins to take possession. I repeat, when the mind has been cleared of a negative mental attitude, the power of faith moves in and begins to take possession. I repeat a third time. When the mind has been cleared of a negative mental attitude, the power of faith moves in and begins to take possession. Surely no student of this philosophy will be unfortunate enough to miss this important observation. May this help you in this situation to come through and Let faith take possession of it. See you.